kingdom of God by our lives. And that's another thing, another little aside, doesn't relate to what we're talking about here, but how do you think the presence of the establishment of the presence of the kingdom of God, seen as the King's Day, how do you think the establishment of the presence of the kingdom of God comes in the world? What does it come by or through? Us. Right, me, us, we. And if we're not there, it ain't going to be. You know, and if we're there, we have something to say about it. And that's something to know, that we make a difference. We build it up. Okay. By showing our love and by sharing in the work of redemption, we acquire a certain peace of spirit. This peace that remains with us even in times of trial and tribulation is Jesus' spirit of wholeness and wellness. My peace my peace I give you. To believers who give witness. Okay, let me run that by. This peace that remains with us even in the times of trials and tribulations is Jesus' spirit of wholeness and wellness, united with our spirit of being. My peace I give you, to believers who give witness. To believers who will give a witness of Jesus in the world. In other words, us living rightly, everything in its right place, we have in ourselves the peace that Jesus wants to give us, because that peace of Jesus is everything in its right place. It's divine justice, everything in its right place. And if I'm busy about doing that, and we all are busy about doing that, then we have, no matter what the situation is in our life, we have a certain peace there. We might be impatient and angry at the time, which is all right as long as we don't act out of that, because Jesus was that way in Scripture. As long as we don't act out of that, it doesn't become a sin. We might get upset and stuff like that, and show that. You know, stop doing that. You know, why don't you listen to me for the 10th time? Open your ears. You know, sometimes you have to raise a voice to hear us. But yet there's still peace. You know, you can dress something, then you can leave it and go on to something else. But there's that certain peace. I think we've experienced that. That's what we're talking about here. And detachment helps us to have that peace. It's when we're still attached to things that are inappropriate, but that peace is kind of messed up and we are unhappy inside. Okay, it is a foretaste of the fullness of the kingdom to come, this peace that we have, this sharing in the work of redemption acquired through the peace of spirit. It is a foretaste of the fullness of the kingdom to come. Our detachment becomes then the context in which this Jesus peace, in which this Jesus, okay, let me begin again here. Our detachment becomes then the context in which this Jesus peace, there isn't any other kind of peace, is oneself, in oneself can exist, flourish, and blossom. Jesus' peace within us can exist to begin with, but it can flourish and it can blossom because our detachment from all that which is inappropriate and untrue. And it's interesting to know, we touched on this about a number of times, being authentic, sincere, true, so on and so forth. And Easter, isn't it in Easter, the Easter Vigil, the Easter liturgy, that we come to call Satan, the master, Beelzebul, the master of the lie. We've been talking about authenticity here. We talked about truth here. And just the opposite of that is lie. Well, when we engage in selfishness, we are engaging in that lie. Because selfishness is the opposite of being our authentic self. So, what supports us and comforts us is the peace of Christ that we allow to exist in us through carrying out His teachings, living out His value system as being disciples of Jesus and Discalced Carmelites. They exist in us, and they're able to, through our detaching ourselves, like you just said a minute ago, from that which is inappropriate and harmful, allows us to flourish and blossom in our lives. So therefore, we can be of help and support to one another in difficult times because it's grounded in that peace which is Jesus' care for us. Let us not be discouraged or anxious in our endeavor of practicing detachment, but again, do our best and let God take care of the rest. The saints inform us that our victory is in our effort, and that a slight glance from us to God and is all the opening God needs to endow us with grace for this task. If we properly respond to God's grace, we will, in fact, be able to overcome our inordinate self-love with fortitude and boldness. And an added benefit is that we will, the easier, go from conquest to conquest and becoming the person God loved us into existence to be, becoming our true selves. Detachment, lastly, for detachment is the disentangling, the unfettering, the prying of the true and real self from the self that is false and artificial, and from relations, situations, and circumstances that are harmful or manipulating, so that we can then fulfill the command of Jesus to love God first of all, and then to love our neighbors. And these two commandments cannot be separated. So much for detachment. Attachment. The uniting ourselves to being possessed by God. Or it can be, in the negative, it can be uniting ourselves to being possessed by that which is something other than God. Ice cream. Cars, beautiful, red cars. Like the $375,000 Maserati that the guy drives. You probably told you this. The guy drives into the parking lot of Walmart. Why is he going to Walmart? Okay? I don't know. But he's just about to park his car, you know, with all the, backs out and goes way out in the back. I'd probably do the same thing, right? Goes way out in the back and parks his car so there's nothing around him. You know, he's got about a quarter of a mile to get back to Walmart, right? And he gets out of the car, shuts the car, takes out his handkerchief, and wipes the fingerprints on. And as he's walking away, he looks back and he goes like this. Then out from the sky comes something from him, must have been a satellite, and crashes on his car. Just totally obliterates the car, And I can't remember what the commercial was about. But there's a little example of attachment to something. The guy probably went in and probably stole red cars or something after that, because, I mean, it probably had to be carted away. He would probably still that way the next morning, But you see detachment. The detachment, yes, there's some practical moments. We're not talking about practicality. We're talking about the grand excess to that. Being manipulated in the sense of going out of the way, of so much of his care and concern and heart in that. And then it just exploding in front of him. That was too bad. But detachment, okay, or being attached, okay, attachment, uniting ourselves to being possessed by God. What is the disciple of Jesus to be busy about? Simply put, with a generosity of heart and a determination of mind, to be conforming oneself to the will of God, which in truth and in reality is the only will to accomplish, for it is the disciples' will perfected. If we had God's understanding, my dear sisters and brothers, we would be making the same choice for us as God is making for us. Because God knows that this will bring us to our fullness of being as much as it can on this side of the grave. Even the good men and women in this building who are in wheelchairs or what have you, they might say, "I heard you talking there. What do you mean fullness?" as they're looking up at me from their wheelchair. It's beyond the physical. It goes beyond that. If you got physical welfare, I mean, that's fine. But it goes beyond that. You can think. You still have a heart that beats today anyway, and can still capable of praising God for maybe nothing that you've done recently, but in the